the concept of impermanence and accepting that all of this eventually goes away was a deeply peaceful, like I got a tremendous, it seems scary, right? But in fact, if you really, really embrace it, there's a tremendous amount of peace in it.
So I think for people who aren't meditators or maybe are just starting off, sometimes the idea of sitting for that long just seems impossible. I know it did for me when I first started off. I was like, the idea for sitting for even an hour in silence by myself seemed impossible. So what is the, how does it force you to confront that anxiety, and like what keeps you there from, what keeps you from just getting up and being like, this isn't for me, I'm going home?
Some people do just get up, and I mean, I remember in that retreat there were multiple people who just got up and left in the middle of it and couldn't deal with it. What the scary thing about meditating for 10 days straight for 12 hours a day the first time is that you've never truly been alone with your thoughts for an enduring period of time without any way to kind of self-medicate. And when I mean self-medicate, I mean even reading the New York Times is self-medication. So when you're alone with your thoughts, your paranoia, your fears, your anxiety, it can be worse than a really severe acid trip, right? You've got to go in and in the silence deal with all of your demons and your fears, all the things that you've been running from and compartmentalizing. What for me it was physical and a lot of physical and emotional abuse and dealing with those memories for the first time with only the practice of meditation to manage that pain. That was hard. It was hard. And it was hard for me, especially at 20 years old.
So, were you getting something from being in the part of these spiritual communities? Like, what was happening for you on the inside? With your anxiety or whatever you were going through.
I got a lot out of it. I think one thing is I really started to learn the difference between for one is just the illusion of self and the illusion of ego. I started to really, really deeply get that concept. I also started to really get the illusion of thought and this kind of disconnect, this kind of realization I am not my thoughts. Just developmentally, in terms of psychology and spirituality, just that concept, I am not my thoughts, is a really, really important developmental step. I also started to really deeply grasp the concept of impermanence. And one of the most important practices that I did to grasp that, and this was with Noah Levine's encouragement, is I went and I spent 2 years working in hospice and spent 2 years working with people who were dying. And I also did a spiritual practice called 1 Year to Live. And you live an entire life. It's based on a book that was written by his father, Stephen Levine, called 1 Year to Live. And you live a 1 year practice as if you've just gotten a 1 year life sentence with cancer, and that you've got to do all of the things in your life to all wrap them up karmically as though you're going to die in 1 year. And so I did that whole 1 year practice. And so I think the concept of impermanence and accepting that all of this eventually goes away was a deeply peaceful, like I got a tremendous, it seems scary, right? But in fact, if you really, really embrace it, there's a tremendous amount of peace in it. So yes, I think I've gotten a tremendous amount. It's helped me be a better parent. It's helped me be a better CEO. It's helped me manage my anxiety. Like the fruits of the path are incredible.
Yeah, I realized that for myself with kind of the acceptance of impermanence and death. It was something I've fought against a lot, a lot. I was very reluctant to accept, and then I had a number of experiences, including the ayahuasca experience I've talked about on this podcast, where I finally came to terms with it, and the ensuing peace from surrendering and not fighting against the way the world is was really a life-changing moment for me, and has ongoing effects. Um, so how did you, well, I have so many questions about the 1 year to live. Like, what were the things that you did, and what was the final? Did you do something on the final day that was, like your last day on, last day here?
Yeah, so the last day you do a ritual as if you were actually dying. So it's but leading up to that is actually really very interesting. You create your bucket list of all of the things that you want to do in life, and for me it was a lot of travel, and it was a lot of kind of tying off loose ends, saying a lot of thank yous for people that I'd ne never expressed gratitude to. Finishing like wrapping up old conflicts that were all lingering, um, in some moments like indulging in things that I had always held back from. So you create your bucket list, but then you also have to write letters to people that you're saying goodbye to. You have to go and like really it's a lot of atonement. Like think about the things like what would you want to do if you knew you were going to leave this earth forever, that you were going to leave this body, you were going to die. What are the things that you would want to wrap up karmically such that you're not carrying that with you, if you believe in life after death, right? And so that's what the spiritual practice is all about. You do your bucket list, you write your letters, you go and atone for your sins, etc. And it's a beautiful process. And then the last day it culminates with your own kind of death ritual, and then you move on. So yeah, it was great. Noah was a phenomenal instructor for me through that whole experience.